Sounds of Stadia podcast for episode number 134 of your weekly gaming and Stadia video game podcast, where myself, Chris, your host for this episode, bring you all the news alongside the man of many pixels, recovering.
Yeah, I've managed to pull myself off the couch to get this recording done. I'm actually feeling not too bad. I was pretty rough the other day, though.
I appreciate you coming by, Richie, of course. We'll make you feel better with all the video game goodness that we've got in line for today's show. We have a great show lined up for all you viewers and listeners out there. We're going to be talking about cloud gaming increasing 4 times over the next few years. It's worth absolutely billions, folks. We're breaking that all down. We've got some big game news for the likes of Cyberpunk, new game releases, new indie studios looking to work with Stadia on upcoming titles, and in fact bringing an entire series along. Some little updates on Need for Speed that we discussed last week, Elder Scrolls, Saints Row, and much, much more. But before we delve into all that, thank you very much for tuning in for those watching along on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games. And if you could do us a favour, help out that magical algorithm by clicking like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you are kept in the loop with everything we do here at Helix Cloud Games. Not only do we do a weekly Stadia podcast, Richie, 134 weeks consistently every Monday this show drops. We also have live streams, first looks.
We do.
Other content.
Occasionally I turn up to the live streams.
Okay. I mean, come on, don't do yourself too much discredit. You've been there pretty much consistently for many, many months, if not years now.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be sick. Or unwell, I guess. You weren't sick, were you?
Yeah. No, I haven't actually thrown up. I've come close when I've just like a massive coughing fit, but...
Exactly. But, yeah. Glad to know you're doing better. Everyone's human. All the viewers, listeners out there, you all have a right. If you're waking up now Monday morning and thinking I'm a bit rough, we get it. We're all human. These things happen.
It was a bit annoying. I went from Tuesday having a pretty decent hangover to like Thursday where I was suddenly ill. I was like, oh, can I not get a break? Hangover
straight to being unwell. The hangover may have kicked it off. It may have weakened your immune system for all we know.
Probably, yeah.
But obviously, shout out to everyone out there who's enjoying their Easter weekend all over the planet right now. Hopefully you've had a bit of time off with friends, family. You've had some of those chalky eggs. I don't really get chocolate eggs anymore, which is kind of disappointing.
I don't really do Easter, to be honest. It's a thing that... Easter to me is just a double bank holiday weekend. That's all it is.
I mean, I'll take that over some chocolate eggs any day if it was...
Yeah, honestly, I can buy chocolate. I'm an adult. I can just buy chocolate if I want it.
That's the problem with being an adult, though, buying it every single time. What is your favourite Easter egg if you had to go for a particular brand or type?
Oh, it's hard to say. You know what? I always like the cream egg because it feels special because it's like you only get it at Easter. But like if you could get cream eggs all the year round, you realise how sickly and disgusting they actually are. Because if you only have one a year, it's a treat.
It's also very dangerous if you can get them all year round.
Cream egg McFlurries are like top tier.
Good stuff. Cream egg McFlurries. I have to say I'd probably go with cream egg as well. There is something magical about them. I think in the UK we consume something like 500,000 of them a year, which no surprise at all. But yes, happy Easter to everyone out there celebrating. Everyone who's had some time off. The weather's been fantastic. I have a good one of those horrible drumstick arm looks going on for me. Spent a little bit too much time out in the sun yesterday and had a few drinks with friends. However, those of you out there who are working this Monday, if you're listening to this when it goes live every single Monday, shout out to you folks out there. I spent many years working bank holidays, so I appreciate all of your time and effort. And thank you for tuning in for this podcast as well as you get on with your busy, busy lives. Richie, I said we've got a great show. We always bring you a great show, of course, 134 episodes, and it wouldn't be done without you wonderful people out there watching and listening along. Special extra double shout out to our Helix Heroes out there. That is, of course, the 50 of you who support us over on our membership channel, the Helix Heroes Club, from as little as 99 pence. You help us out, bring you better content, support us in our endeavour to bring you the utmost best Stadia and cloud gaming content news there is to possibly do and talk about. So shout out to you folks out there. Many of you now ticking past the 1 year mark. You're all awesome. You deserve everything you get. Richie, we do actually need to have a conversation on the live stream this Thursday. I played some more World War Z Aftermath. Z Aftermath? Z Aftermath. And
still enjoying it?
Yes, I had a great time. Jumped in with some lovely people. Clive, of course. Clive Illenden joined us as well, and a bunch of other awesome people. From the chat, we had a full squad. We went through episode 2 in Jerusalem. But we did have a conversation about making Stadios a real thing, because that is the badge our Helix Heroes now get when they pass with the 1 year mark. And I'm sure there must be someone out there who makes real cereal.
Right, this is a shout out to any one of our fans out there. If you work for Kellogg's or Nestle or any of these companies that produce cereals, hit us up. Yeah, hit us up. We'll make this thing happen.
Yeah, we actually started something off last week, which we didn't intend to. At the end of the episode, we gave the metaverse and NFTs loads of shit. And then everyone in the comments last week and in our Discord, everyone seems game for a Helix Cloud Games NFT metaverse, maybe with cream eggs and Stadios on the go.
I saw that. I think they're in on the joke.
Yeah, I mean, I bloody well hope so. Because yes, that'll be a long ways off until Elon Musk offers to buy us for billions and billions, which he hasn't yet. Yeah. We're open to sale, Elon. If you really want our branding, down for that.
What was that I said last week? Grab your NFTs, we're off to the metaverse.
We're off to the metaverse. We are indeed. Except for we're not, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to talk about gaming news. Richie, usually when you're unwell, you usually sit down as a gamer, I'd like to think, with all of your medicines surrounding you, plenty of liquids, of course, maybe a hot water bottle, and delving into some video games is something, if you're feeling up to it, you can kill a lot of time if you're unwell. What have you been playing this week in your current state?
Well, that's actually a big question. So I've rolled on Tuesday while I had a hangover. I rolled credits on both Pokemon M, Shining Pearl, and Horizon Forbidden West. I've since platinum Horizon Forbidden West.
Congrats.
Put a significant number of hours into Pokemon Legends Arceus and started East 9.
Wow.
East 8, sorry.
Monstrum
Nox. I started that last night because after spending a lot of the day playing Pokemon Arceus, I needed to
change it up.
Like, I want a game, but I need to change your pace.
Interesting. How are you finding Monstrum Nox so far?
I'm enjoying it. I've only played a couple of hours, so it's really just setting up the world and the characters and stuff. Hasn't really jumped into it much. It kind of reminds me of East 7, Lacrimosa of Dana, in terms of how it looks and how it feels, how it plays. It's very much the same game, new setting. One thing I did notice, though, is I don't know whether this is a game, because it is kind of double A, or this is the Stadia port, but the shadows are blocky as fuck. Like, seriously. We're talking square. Like, I walk past a shadow of, like, a tree, and it's just, like, made out of squares.
Like Minecraft shadows.
Like, yeah. Like, it's not even, like, little. You can... Oh, it's a bit aliased around the edges. It's not... This is big, decent squares. Like, ooh, that's... I mean, it's not the most graphically beautiful game, and it runs well.
Yeah.
So, but it's like them shadows are a bit like PS2. But this was my take on like Lacrimosa or Dana when like my first look of it, where the graphics very much felt like a remaster. If it reminded me of the Final Fantasy X remaster in terms of how the graphics are and the textures and stuff. Monstrum Nox is very much the same, a little bit more detail, but not that much. So if you're a graphics snob, it's probably a miss for you. But
of course, a free pro game.
It plays well
for Stadia as well.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to spend you did have to spend for the subscription, but you know what I mean.
I would be very disappointed in the graphic fidelity if I paid full price for what is actually a new game.
Okay.
It's like, I think this was a 2021 release. So if I paid like 50, 60 quid last year for this game, and this is the graphic fidelity I was getting, it's like, come on, guys. But I didn't, so I'm happy.
It adds to the charm, though, right? It adds to the charm of a classic JRPG. But good to know that you're getting some value out of your pro games this month between World War Z Aftermath and Monstrum Nox. Of course, we're still waiting on Deliver Us the Moon. We've not heard anything. We're now 17 days into the month at the time of recording, and developers and Stadia are yet to kind of update their pro subscribers on any time frame or anything. How long, Richie, if you were to hazard a guess, do you think we might have a bit of silence for?
It's hard to know because it was such a, like, it was in like 11th hour, oh, this game's not coming tomorrow. It literally was the night before the tweet went live, and it's been silent since. So this could be a case of it drops today, which on Monday the 18th, although bank holiday, so maybe Tuesday, Tuesday the 19th, or it could be months. I think we're ready because it's been like 2 weeks now, a bit more, almost 3 weeks, for the developer to like
Give us
tweet
an
out
update.
again.
Yeah.
Give us an update. Okay, guys, this is what the problem is. This is why it hasn't come.
Yeah, because like you said, if it was at the 11th hour, you think it would be something small that they're kind of like, oh, we've just noticed this. Yeah. We'll get it. Because the game is surely certified and tested and ready to launch within hours. So
yeah, it's like
you can't imagine it was game breaking, right? But then, yeah, the silence is a bit deafening in a weird way.
It might have been like, I don't know. It's like you think like on the 11th hour, because it was literally like something like 9-10 o'clock at night the night before.
Yeah,
like. We're looking like, oh, this game's meant to come out in like 12 hours or something. That's literally the timeline we're talking here. That it wouldn't be anything absolutely massive, but I'm guessing because it's taking this long.
Yeah.
It might not. This is when you start wondering: is it a problem with the game or is it a problem with the business elements of it?
That's a good question. Actually, it might. Everyone just considers it's something with the actual tech, but it might be. Good old business deals might actually be like, oh, you know what? Pro might not be good for us. You can't back out now. It goes live tomorrow. We probably can still back out, and then it might. Yeah.
Maybe there's a problem with the certification. I haven't checked to see if it's like the ESRB or PEGI ratings have actually come out. That might be the hold-up, so that might mean it's like out of their hands. They don't have a timeline.
Yeah, but
who knows? Let us know in the comments if you do.
Yeah, it's honestly, we'll keep an eye on it because we're missing a pro game. Arguably the most interesting pro game of the month still isn't here. 2/3 into the month nearly. So I'm guessing this time next week we might even have the pro games for next month announced. So we'll see.
It has its ESRB rating for Stadia.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, so it's not that.
But speaking of stories like that, Richie, let's kickstart the show and get into the thick of the stories. Would you do me the honours of introducing us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
News. So much news. We're going to start with a big story this week, boys and girls, and that is cloud gaming, according to GamesIndustry.biz, is going to go huge over the next few years. By 2024, revenues are expected to increase by 4 times from 2021. In last year alone, cloud gaming generated almost $1.5 billion, and that's expected to increase to an insane amount, which essentially you're looking at a lot of money, Richie, a lot of money. And the article goes on to state that that's been in line with partnerships regarding TVs. So we know the Samsung, the LG collaborations between like Stadia, Nvidia, and other ones. There's been a couple of movements regarding acquisitions. Unity, in particular, acquired the streaming platform Parsec. Intel, a few weeks back, bought the Polish cloud firm Remote My App. So, like, all of these like little firms, kind of similar to Sony bought Gaikai 10 odd years ago, and like just there's been a lot of movements where money is exchanged hands to kind of better increase the cloud gaming world. And we know Google in particular are huge on that. And actually, we've got a follow-up story just shortly, which actually speaks about Google's reinvestment in data centers and cloud tech as well. But to kickstart the show off this week, I think with looking at Google Stadia as a whole, we've always said, like 134 weeks into it, that cloud gaming is in its infancy. We said on last week's SideQuest, does Stadia get unfair criticism? And we delved quite deep into actually it does, because it's a front runner. It's a trailblazer.
Gen 1 of cloud gaming.
Yeah. And it is going to, and Amazon Luna are going to, and anyone who's ever launched anything and they're the first ones to do it, or they're one of the first ones, that always comes with criticism. And with gaming in particular, it's been around for 3 decades now. People are used to and comfortable with what it is. But like you and me are traditional gamers, and yet we bought into the Stadia model, the Stadia ecosystem. It's had its ups and downs, undoubtedly. But is it going anywhere? No.
Yeah, well, I think it's going somewhere. It's just going up and up and up and up.
Yeah, it's not going away, I should have said. It's not going away.
Yeah.
It is going somewhere, you're right.
Well, the thing is, this $1.5 billion, I'm skeptical a bit of like what this includes, because this is not what I don't think this is $1.5 billion in games purchases via the cloud. Because first of all, Luna is the most subscription service, so you need to work that in. Is this including Game Pass? Because that Game Pass Ultimate gives you access to xCloud, where I dare say the majority of people buying Game Pass aren't interested in xCloud yet. They're buying it to play all the games on local hardware, We've got Sony incorporating something similar into PlayStation Plus. All the deals that we're putting things like Stadia on TV. And then like giving people free pro months as part of when they sign up. I think this is massaging numbers a bit.
Yep.
I think cloud gaming it's probably in terms of actual sales of end users purchasing stuff for cloud gaming users, it's probably a third of that.
Yeah, it's a lot of business movements at the moment.
This is a lot of, I think, the gaming industry and the entertainment industry and the tech industry making moves to kind of establish a foothold. This is where I think cloud gaming is at the moment. All the big players are making the moves to kind of like build that foundations for how they're going to grow the cloud gaming platforms.
Yeah, and no, I think that's a good honest take on it, and you're completely right. Yeah, it's not all just gamers. Like these billions and billions of dollars are not sales from people buying Monstrum Nox instead of buying it on Stadia Pro.
If this was 1.5 billion game sales. Stadia would be much more successful than it actually is.
That is completely right. Yeah, all cloud gaming would be full stop.
Yeah.
If we take that into a factor, like the gaming market as a whole was valued around 198.4 billion for 2021, so last year. And video game cloud specific is only 1.5 of that. It just shows you how much of the industry actually isn't focused and how small cloud gaming is on that. But you're right, Richie. There's a good point there that all these big tech companies, they're almost just trying to position themselves for the future. And we know it, our viewers and listeners know it, that the games industry is the biggest, fastest growing, and it's swelled past music, TV, movies. We've said that time and time again. And we're seeing a renaissance now with video game movies. We've got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 doing really well. You've got the Uncharted movie doing really well. You've got another Tomb Raider movie in the works. You've got all these TV series that are leaning on, like Resident Evil and such. And it's no surprise because it's an industry that's getting bigger and bigger, and it's now got 3 decades of legacy behind it to bring to the forefront. So you're right, we've got the metaverse shit going on over there, NFTs going over there, and technology always pushes forward, and cloud gaming is just another piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying for like 2.5, almost 3 years now that I think Microsoft view a future where you don't buy an Xbox anymore, and it's just the entire thing's in the cloud. I've predicted, depending how cloud gaming goes over this generation, the next generation of consoles might be one without an Xbox. If they can transition people over, I think Games Pass is very much the first big step towards that. The incorporation of xCloud into the Ultimate is very much towards that. They're going, play it anywhere. So whether it's on your Xbox, whether it's a Series X, Series S, Xbox One, or PC, even eventually things like mobile is part of that. It depends how this console generation goes. And I think actually the chip shortage, which is still kind of ongoing, may move that up a bit. Because if they can't get Xboxes in the hands of consumers, what if they could turn your current Xbox into a platform where you can buy the next generation of games without pretty much very little compromise?
Yeah.
Let's say you've still got an Xbox One and you're playing Halo on like 4K through the cloud. Where's the incentive to buy an Xbox Series X if it just works for you?
Yeah.
It's like that's 500 quid you're saving.
Yeah, and I've seen, you see people across social media and stuff every week. I think for our last week's episode post, it was for SideQuest. Does Stadia get unfair criticism? And I, across Facebook and such, there was loads of people replying saying, it does get unfair criticism. I've used it for 2 years. I've saved myself £500, $500. And as the belt tightens a little bit on inflation and cost, like, again, we're in April now, Richie. Everyone out there is feeling the crunch a little bit on council tax, bills, gas, water, electric, petrol, fuel, gas, everything like that. And all of a sudden, dropping that big chunk of money every few years on a console, it becomes more and more like a privilege in a weird way. Like you need cash in the bank to adopt these kind of new pieces of tech. Yeah. And I'll try and do it as much as I possibly can, but there might be a point in my life when I've got family and stuff and I've got other things going on, or inflation keeps going up, that you sit back and think, you know what, I'm just going to have to accept that a link to a website or a cloud gaming component, it's the better option for me because I'll just save so much money. And like, we're adopters of everything. We have PlayStation 5s, we have Nintendo Switches, we play Stadia.
This week I've played on 3 different platforms.
Yeah,
literally.
Exactly. And that's like, we're very fortunate for that, and we don't forget that. But the reality is there's millions and millions of people out there on this planet who don't have that luxury. And this we've always said, cloud gaming, it removes the barrier to entry for anyone. Like, you could be a kid and you could play Stadia Pro if your mum and dad give you £10 for a Pro subscription. There's 50 games. If you get Game Pass for a tenner, there's hundreds of games you can literally jump in. Whatever the PlayStation Plus Now combo, 1 monthly subscription, and you're in with 740 plus potential games in the cloud, going back 30 years. It's awesome. So I cannot see a place in like 5 years' time where cloud gaming isn't bigger every single day than it's ever been the day before.
Yeah, I think it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing, especially as hardware prices go up and up and up. And as the cost of living goes up, it's just going to get to the point where people just can't. We're already at the point. There's a lot of people who just cannot afford the new console. Especially imagine if you're a parent. Let's say you got 3 kids.
Yeah,
that could be $1.50 on consoles alone.
Yep.
Like,
one wants an Xbox, one wants a PlayStation, the other one wants a Switch, and you go,
yeah,
get a second job.
Or nothing in cloud costs.
Mm-hmm.
You suddenly see where the massive savings come in.
You all want to play PUBG, kids? Well, there's a Gmail account for you. There's a Gmail account for you. There's a Gmail account for you.
Yeah.
Have at it. It's free to play.
I mean, going back quickly to the last week's SideQuest, the unfair criticism one. If you haven't checked that out, you should, because the answer is kind of a nice nuanced one. It's yes and no, and we kind of explore the whole like spectrum of criticism Stadia gets, and it is available on podcast services. All SideQuest is, if you haven't already.
Yeah, we did.
I just want to throw that plug in there.
No, it's worth it. I think this topic lends itself quite well because, as I said right at the beginning, being the front runner and the trailblazer, it does draw criticism, and again, some of it's merited completely. Like, you're trying to pull from an industry that's so set in its way for decades now, and they're used to a box under the TV. The audience are, the makers, the manufacturers, the developers. They're all used to this box under the TV doing all the grunt work. And that's no longer a thing. And the developers are starting to realise it. The publishers are. The hardware makers are. It's obviously the hardest people to convince is the audience, because that's where your sales come in. You're trying to sell a dream of this new dream.
I find it frustrating now, even when I'm listening to other podcasts from all the traditional like gaming side. Mm-hmm. After 2 years of cloud gaming, like personal experience, when I hear podcasts going, "Oh yeah, I think cloud gaming might be the future, but it's not there yet." It's like, you don't cloud game.
Yeah. You
openly say you don't cloud game, and you're giving this as an absolute. It's like, if you took the time, you might realise Stadia's got problems. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. The main problem is the library and the player base.
Yeah.
Tech's fine. It's not, as I mentioned earlier with Monstrum Nox. I'm not sure whether this is just the graphic fidelity of this game, especially with the shadows. But to me, the shadows look like they've been toned down. Mm-hmm. So this could be a port. But the game's playable. Like, it's not like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever seen. But if that's the sort of thing you have to, you're going to stick a NVIDIA 3090 Ti in your bloody PC. And you're not playing Monstrum Nox.
Yeah.
Like, you're playing something like Cyberpunk or Elden Ring or like Horizon.
Yeah. It's big moves.
It just frustrates me. Yeah, it frustrates me when people like who aren't involved in cloud gaming dismiss cloud gaming out of hand.
It's actually weird in a way how so many, like, I would call them like hardcore game enthusiasts and content producers and such. They are very dismissive of it still, and I just genuinely think because they're stuck in their ways with it. Like, and again, we were skeptical, to be fair, to start with. I don't know how quick my internet's going to run, and as you said, we've had ups and downs and problems. But you know what? I have with my PlayStation as well. Lego Star Wars crashed on me 3 times the other day, and I lost my save file.
Since I got Stadia, I upgraded my internet package to get better speed, and I upgraded my home networking so I could get better coverage, so I could play it in my office. That's something I had to do myself. That was money out of my pocket to make Stadia viable for me.
Did it cost you more than
once I've done it,
box, though?
No, it didn't. I think it was like Google Wi-Fi. I think it was like £100 or something. And then it's just like it was an upgrade my internet, which I was going to do anyway.
Yeah. Lots of things, lots of movement, and that nicely brings us into the second story of the week, which is another reason I firmly believe Stadia will be around for many, many years to come, in some way, shape or form, hopefully with a better library. There's no denying that. They've commented and said their investment plans for 2022 and beyond. Again, we're talking in billions. This whole industry doesn't talk in the small numbers anymore, Richie. $9.5 billion will be reinvested in the United States regarding Google data centers and offices to provide vital anchors to local communities and help contribute to the economy. They're discussing across 26 states they're going to be investing over 40,000 full-time jobs in research and development. Amongst all the other things that kind of come with all these locations, I'm sure building and stuff like that. On the blog post over at Google, you can actually read the full statement. It shows you a map of the United States where they intend to open up new offices, new data centers, investment areas, and don't want to get too much into it, but you know what? $9.5 billion is not a small amount of pocket change to be shunned at when you're talking about data centers and increasing and improving the internet in states up and down that country.
Yeah, I think one thing they seem to be targeting looking at the map is like wider coverage, although I am skeptical of how much of this would be for Stadia or Google Cloud Gaming in general. I think most of this could be enterprise stuff. But Google seeing the future in the cloud, they're going to be investing, and the more data centers is, the more likely you're going to like go, you know what, we're going to take a part of our data center. This is going to be a small part of it is going to be for Google Cloud Gaming and Google Stadia, and then you get better coverage across the US. And the closer you are to the data center, the less latency you're going to get.
Yeah,
simple.
That's the way I read the blog post. It was like, obviously it wasn't as. I mean, I'd love them to come out and say they're investing $9.5 billion in Google Stadia, but.
There's, for the record, this is from Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google and Alphabet, and Google and gaming is not mentioned in the blog post 100%. In any way. Yeah. So I'm not expecting this a huge. Oh my God, they're spending don't take this as $9.5 billion in Stadia. That's not the case.
No. We'd be getting every game made across the next few years if that was the case. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's worth throwing in there just off the back of saying the games industry is getting bigger. Cloud gaming, is getting bigger, and that part and parcel comes with having better infrastructure. And that's another thing, like I've always said from episode 1 of this show, is that guess what? Your Wi-Fi is only going to get better over the next few years. Your 5G, 4G coverage is only going to get better and more stable and more secure with bigger bandwidth and improved speeds. And it's not going backwards. It's literally not going to go backwards. Technology does not move backwards. So it might seem annoying at times, but you know what? 2.5 years in, that's nothing. I've been playing PlayStation for 20 plus years now.
And we know of a big thing in the US is things like data caps in the more rural areas pretty much having pretty shoddy internet coverage. Yeah. But the thing is, the more demand there is for things like cloud gaming, the more like the providers are going to have to shift. If cloud gaming takes off in a big way in the US, do you think like internet providers are going to get away with data caps? No. They're going to have to offer at a reasonable price cap free, because as soon as one of the big data companies in the big internet companies in the US kind of goes, you know what, we're getting rid of data caps, and then we're going to offer good speeds, and they become the first choice for gamers. Yeah, everyone's a gamer nowadays. Everyone switches over. The others just going to fall. It's going to fall like dominoes. Yeah. It's what's basically already happened throughout throughout Europe.
Yeah, I do think there are some in the States that offer. I'm sure they do. It's just it's the big companies that you want on board,
and I think they offer it, but as a premium.
Yeah.
When that becomes the norm, you know what? We're just going to charge, as they do in Europe. This is speed.
Yeah.
We're just going to put your speed cap on it. Yeah. And you pay for higher speed, higher bandwidths, rather than how much you can actually use. Then suddenly becomes, that's when I think that'll change. And I do think it's around the corner. I hope. I'm not fully clued in that market, but
I mean,
it feels archaic.
The markets around the world tend to reflect each other, and you're right. In the UK at the moment, you can get unlimited internet through a home broadband supplier for £16-17. Like, don't get me wrong, it's probably on a crazy offer, but it's unlimited. I don't think anyone offers plans that have capped internet that anyone feasibly buys, unless you're in a ridiculously rural area where they're your only option, so they've got you hamstrung to it.
And you look at players coming in the market like Elon Musk coming in with Starlink. Yeah. Starlink is a game changer for especially rural areas, which is going to force these traditional telecoms companies to actually change their models. Google pushing Google Wi-Fi for the States, that's going to change up that industry in that country
completely. So we'll see it get better and better, rise and rise. And if you're a patient individual out there, it'll come, folks. Don't worry, it'll come. Story number 3, Richie. Speaking of things that will come. Not this year, unfortunately, though. We had an update from CD Projekt Red this past week. They gave us an update on the game sales so far. It has surpassed 18 million, which I think definitely makes it a hit, although it was criticised, rightly so, across launch. It's done well.
I've heard from other podcasts I listened to this week that they were targeting over 30 million. So it's very much a prospect. 18 million absolutely is a lot, but if you target 30 million, then it's ooh.
Well, we know why that probably is, though, to be fair, as well. So they're lucky to get anywhere near 18, based on some of the launch problems they had, especially on last-gen tech. But yes, as part of their latest earnings report, CD Projekt Red has confirmed that Cyberpunk 2077's previously announced paid expansion, which the developer says will deliver a new storyline, is now expected to arrive next year instead of this year, and any additional DLC that's in the works as well has been pushed back. Details on the paid expansion story have been limited so far. They've obviously been focusing on other things across the last few months, getting the game right in order. They launched the next-gen version a few weeks ago now. They seem to have righted the ship a little bit in terms of, if you look out there on like Metacritic and reviews and stuff, positivity seems to be a lot more common when you discuss Cyberpunk than it was around launch. So obviously a year or so detached from it. But Richie, you are one of the few individuals I know who actually did finish Cyberpunk, the story. You played it on Google Stadia. You had very little issues compared to the rest of the wider world. Would you jump back in? I know you're not usually a DLC person, but does Cyberpunk do anything magical where you think, actually, you know what, give me a bit more of Night City?
Cyberpunk's one of them games where I kind of put it in the pool of games that I'd like to go back and play again eventually in the future. The DLC coming out, or when it does come out, isn't probably going to be the point where I go, oh, now it's time to go back in. It doesn't hurt. But it's like, it is very much, I really enjoyed that game. I had relatively few bugs. There was some, nothing game breaking and nothing like literally, like the worst bug I had was occasionally my weapon would just start firing and I just hit quick load and then I'm back to and fine. And with the load times on Stadia, it was actually basically, it was a slight inconvenience rather than anything catastrophic game breaking.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's like, I didn't do everything there was to do in that game. I played it quite a lot in the space of like 2 weeks and then I bounced onto other stuff, which is why it's always been, I'd like to go back.
Yeah.
But I don't know when.
Yeah, I've had that itch to go back. When they announced all like the next gen stuff, it was like, oh, do I jump back in? Because again, I stopped playing because of a game breaking bug. I couldn't finish a mission because every time I tried to climb through a damn window, the game launched me 50 foot into the desert. And I just couldn't get through the window to get to the checkpoint to finish the damn mission. It was annoying as hell. And I bounced out and I moved on to some other things. But there is always that allure of it because, again, it's such a huge game. It being pushed back a year, shame. But obviously they have a lot of stuff to work on still. And evidently by the sales, they've got the money in the coffers to take the time to make sure they don't get it wrong a second time. They did scrap the multiplayer, I believe. I'm sure there was supposed to be multiplayer with Cyberpunk. That's just been slowly canned.
I think they scrapped that like a year ago. It's like when they hit the issues they had, I think they probably had to decide like multiplayer or DLC. Yeah. And it's honestly, it's a single player game. But I don't know what the multiplayer would be. Yeah,
be interesting. I'm sure something will release at some point, but we have to wait a little while.
Yeah, for multiplayer to succeed, you need a like consecutive player base, and I think any chance of Cyberpunk having that is well gone.
Yeah. Interesting thing before we move on to the next story with Cyberpunk. Obviously, it got its next-gen launch on PS5 and Series X. We don't really know where Stadia sits in this world still, do we? Where games are getting next-gen versions, and we're about to talk about another one. Does Cyberpunk on Stadia, do we think, ever get any kind of boost? Like, why is that we don't come out and go, anyone who has the game on Stadia, for maybe X amount of pounds, you can just upgrade to the next-gen version, which includes all these amazing features that, remember, Mr. Phil Harrison stood on stage several years ago and touted Stadia being able to hold up to all these features, and yet it doesn't seem to be a thing.
I think the reality is a Stadia with the current hardware they have falls into the category of, I've said this for a while, kind of equivalent to an Xbox One X or PlayStation 4 Pro. It's not. If you, so I've done side by side in a couple of games. Like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I happen to have on Stadia and PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And I get better visuals and performance out of Stadia than I do PS4, like base, but nowhere near the quality you get on PS5. And I think that's where it sits. So next gen versions, I think nowadays, because Stadia hasn't taken off the way people were hoping, I think Stadia isn't probably seen by big developers as next gen anymore. Because I think while it's probably possible, I think the effort involved to get it running smoothly would mean that it doesn't look next gen. It looks like top end previous gen at best.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't think the play base is there on Stadia to actually warrant the effort, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's something they're definitely going to have to address at some point, whether it's with the white label B2B business stuff or the consumers. At some point, they surely have to come out and talk to us, whether it's through like a financial call or Phil Harrison comes out of his hibernation and speaks to us. But there will be a point where the tech we currently have will be left behind as PS5 gets better and Series X, and the developers are able to attune their skills as the generation goes on. And more importantly, once they stop putting games out that are cross-platform, like Ubisoft, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is, I believe, last gen and current gen. When Ubisoft get to a point when their games are solely PS5 and Series X, is at that point Stadia next gen versions, or does that when it starts getting left behind? And like again, at this point, nearly 3 years in, I would have thought we might have had an update from the tech teams to say, no, we are improving these server blades. Like, we are not just leaving the 2019 ones running until they're bust.
I've always stood by, like, from like day one, people are always going, when's Gen 2 Stadia come? When's Gen 2 Stadia come? I've always said, I don't think that's how Stadia works. It's not like suddenly you get an upgrade, like you buy a new PlayStation or a new Xbox and you get a better performance instantly. I've always thought that it's going to be an iterative thing and you're probably not going to hear about it. If the cracks start to show, especially things like Ubisoft, which some are not, at times can be absolutely stunning, over times have issues where there is always a bit of compromise with Ubisoft games. If Ubisoft games start looking massively away from like the current gen consoles, the cracks start showing, then it's like it's going to make the product even less viable. I don't know. I think they need to like. I've stood by. I don't think they're going to announce a Gen 2 Stadia, but I think they should. We've seen Microsoft have upgraded their cloud gaming hardware. GeForce Now have. We've covered both of them. Like Stadia going to have to if they want to even be in the conversation going forward.
Well, that's it. There will be a point when the games that these developers put out are purely next gen, and you do wonder at that point, what does that mean? Do we just stop getting
a Gen 2 Stadia?
Games?
I think it's one. Well, we'll get frustrated if they just sit and don't tell us anything. I think for them, the best thing to do is probably that until they're ready to go. Right, he's a Kinect. He's Gen 2 Stadia, and this is why you should be excited by Stadia. Is like kind of basically like a soft relaunch of the platform. And yes, you will be getting next gen games when they're ready to make that commitment again.
Yeah.
With a Gen 2, I think that's the way to go. But that's probably years out, to be honest.
It is.
I mean, this year we're hearing about them like kind of stepping back on Stadia a bit. From what I'm seeing, I think the best move for Stadia is like it's nowhere near. It's not this year at the very least.
Yeah. But again, one of the things we just have to wait for. But we'll see. CD Projekt Red, of course, super busy. And another story I wanted to throw in here with this week is I think a lot of the community are hoping with the success of Cyberpunk, myself and I think you included as well, Richie, is that this rumoured next-gen Witcher 3 game we will see come to the platform. Of course, they had a port to Nintendo Switch last year that was handled by Saber Interactive, and then now we know we're waiting. It was supposed to come out this summer on a PS5 and Series X version. That's since been delayed because the CD Projekt Red team have announced that they've taken the game development away from Saber Interactive, potentially because their offices are based in Russia. We won't go into that right here, but basically CD Projekt Red have brought the development in-house, so it's been brought
I think
back.
very clearly because Saber and Active are based in Russia, because CD Projekt Red have condemned Russia's attack. Bear in mind, Polish studio, Ukraine's next door. There's a lot of politics going there.
Yeah, we're going there this summer for a wedding.
Yeah.
Right, all of that stuff going on. But yes, they tweeted out saying, we've decided to have our in-house development team conduct the remaining work on the next-gen version of The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt. We are currently evaluating the scope of the work that needs to be done and thus have postponed the Q2 release until further notice. We'll update you as soon as you can. Thank you for understanding. So they haven't given a new date because, understandably, they want to factor in I'm guessing all the data and files need to be sent back over. They need to go through a Q&A test and see what state it's really in to find out.
If I had to imagine what they'll be doing, because CD Projekt Red aren't like a Ubisoft, they don't have millions of studios that they can just pawn this off to. I think they are majority one studio. I think it's going to be Cyberpunk DLC.
Yeah.
They'll probably have a small team kind of assessing where this game is, the next-gen update, kind of just laying the groundwork, say, okay, this is where we're at. So once the DLC of Cyberpunk's come out, this will be the next focus. So I think that why they're saying delayed indefinitely is probably a smart move, because we literally don't know.
I mean, it was due out this summer, so you don't think it's there's still a chance to get it out this year?
It depends on how long it's going to take for Cyberpunk DLC, and Cyberpunk should not have come out when it did. I think they're very cautious about how many times did Cyberpunk get delayed? How many do you remember going through that notification? Seems like every week there was new big yellow tweets.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm just thinking the Cyberpunk one being pushed back to specifically to 2023, maybe that's been pushed back to make way for the Witcher, get a bit more cash, because people are going to buy next gen Witcher, hands down. I'm probably going to buy it.
They are, but I think they can sit on Witcher a bit more. Cyberpunk is still their most recent game that they're trying to really get going.
Yeah.
They bring out, in fact, the longer they wait on The Witcher, the probably more likely it is people to buy it. They had a massive peak in sales when the Witcher TV series came out. So if you're one of the guys who bought The Witcher for the first time last year, when the new next gen update comes out, are you really going to buy it? You can't, it's been too soon. But if you wait another couple of years, I don't think this one is time dependent when it launches. I think when it launches, people will either buy it or not. For example, as much as I am a fan of The Witcher, I'm probably not buying it. I don't really need it.
Shareholders, they might need to get something out this financial year. So there's loads of stuff that goes on with it.
It's the wording definitely makes me think it's after Cyberpunk. Right. We'll focus on Cyberpunk, then we'll switch.
Right. I still think it'll be this year. We should point out as well, Saber Interactive, the headquarters are in Florida, but it's the same. They were established in St. Petersburg, Russia. And the ports for the Switch and 4K versions did happen by Saber Interactive, so it's an interesting one. Of course, no disrespect to anyone at Saber Interactive; it's not their fault.
No,
it's just it's your government wherein your studio lies. Unfortunately,
without digging into their ownership structure, I think it's a case of CD Projekt Red probably don't have a problems with the developer themselves. It's probably potentially who owns shares and stuff. If you assume say one of Putin's cronies happens to own significant shares, if you're CG Projekt Red, do you really want to keep money going into that person's hands right now?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Again, not going into let's move away from the politics.
I will give us an update actually, Richie. There's an update to the article right at the bottom. I wish they'd put updates at the top of the article. It makes things a little bit easier. Update from the 14th of April. It was pushed back against the headline about the upgrade being delayed indefinitely during a Thursday earnings call, saying the lack of a new release window had to do with the need to reassess the work rather than it being a sign of development hell. Nobody, and a quote from the SVP of Business Development, Michael, says, "Nobody is saying the game is delayed into some monumental sort of time gap ahead of us." So again,
that's literally how I took it. Indefinitely means we're not putting a date on it.
No, but I think he's saying it's don't panic. We said it because it was due this summer, so I think he's saying don't think it's suddenly pushed back to next summer. He's kind of trying to douse the fire a little bit and say we'll see it. But to put a pin on all this, I guess, Richie, is I'm a big fan of The Witcher. You're a big fan of The Witcher. Millions and millions of people are.
Still haven't platinumed it though.
No, I haven't even finished the storyline because I get dragged away because it's trying to go back to an old game. But I love the TV show, so I'm definitely want to get in. It's almost like there's so many next gen versions of stuff. It's do I just wait for the best version possible? who knows? But will it come to Stadia?
If they do, you know what? If they do a free upgrade to PS5, which is likely CD Projekt Red,
yeah.
I think what I might go, you know what? I'm going to play it again, but I'm just going a trophy hunt. I'm not going to get invested in the story. I'm just going to get that platinum. Because I've played through twice now and still didn't get the platinum. I came close last time, though.
But will it come to Stadia?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think?
No, I think the time for it potentially to come has passed. Again, I think next gen, going back to our conversation about is Stadia next gen, I don't think that it's seen as next gen. And while we saw Cyberpunk as a success as Stadia fans, CD Projekt Red have always lumped the sales in with PC and kind of masked the numbers that way. I don't think it was that commercially successful on Stadia. I think it was technically successful.
Right, that's a good differentiator. I mean, if it doesn't, again, it's just back to like, what the hell are we going to play this year, isn't it? If you're not getting ports of older games, you're not getting big games, you're not getting AAA, you're not talking to us. Telltale signs. I mean,
I know there is one thing that we can play this year with our friends.
Hey, you're right, Richie. Next story of the week. Dropped. It kind of was a stealth drop actually, because we haven't had a blog post this week talking about new games coming. Golf with Friends. The first game from Team 17 is out now on Google Stadia. You can buy it. It's actually on offer at the moment. If you're a pro subscriber, you can pick it up for £11.99 as opposed to the £14.99. So not a massive price point to start with, but nice to know you get a little launch discount, which I do always appreciate. Team 17, of course, we're expecting Overcooked All You Can Eat and Worms WMD when that finally gets around to it. I've seen loads of people out there in the community teaming up, having games, playing some golf. I think it's definitely one we should probably look at on a live stream at some point, Richie. You can get up to 12 players in, so there's definitely some multiplayer madness to be had there. And it's great to know that's out, but stealth drop in the middle of the week, another indie game to come. I know there's been some kind of ruckus going on in the community about the games that are trending for Stadia in terms of like the frequency in which they're coming out. We're apparently very, very behind the track that we were this time last year in terms of the cadence. So
we've actually got a story late in the show about that.
Oh, do we? I'll leave it till we get there then. But yes, Golf with Friends available now. If you're a fan of golf and you're a fan of Friends, then it's available now on offer. Pick it up before the sale ends. Friends, Richie, playing with friends.
Yeah.
And reaching out to developers has been a big thing the Stadia community is actually really positive on. They've got a few games to launch. We know Sky Climbers is kind of the big first success story. Anyone who's on Twitter who follows us, who just kind of follows Stadia hashtags and stuff like that, will notice that a little known developer, Dead Drop Studios, this past week has just been going crazy with Stadia hashtags, bring it to Stadia hashtags, Stadia 100, everything like that. And he or they are the developers of a series known as Outbreak. You can go check them out on Steam. They've got multiple titles, starting back in 2017 with Outbreak, all the way up to its most recent one, which launched this April. Even this month, actually, I should say, Outbreak Contagious Memories. It's essentially, looking at the series, which I've never played any of these games, but glancing quickly at what the games are, we've both kind of assumed it's a Resident Evil inspired
style. It feels, looking at some trailers and Let's Plays and stuff of it as we were prepping for this show, because I hadn't really heard of the games before. Very, very inspired by the original Resident Evil trilogy. Which is not a bad thing.
No, not at all. They say on the features on the Steam page, classic survival horror mechanics, inventory and resource management, conveniently written and placed notes, backtracking and puzzles, full co-op integration, play through the full game solo with a friend, integrated camera controls, choose between first person, third person, and a classic fixed camera, so that's really committing to the Resident Evil look. Hordes of undead, mutated beasts, monsters with lots of extra teeth, plenty of unlockable content, voice acting that's almost cheesy enough to put in a sandwich, and a bunch more things. Really, again, lean into the comedy a little bit more, I think, maybe than the serious horror. But several games out, and the reason we wanted to bring it up is because the Dead Drop Studios Twitter account is being, as I said, going all out with discussing, should we bring this to Stadia? They've looked at starting Indiegogo, bringing the whole series, not just the one game. They've reached out already to Stadia.dev through the requirements you've got to do as a publisher to submit to Google. He's filled out the publication form, and I guess we kind of just wait and see now. But there's a few little tidbits we probably want to get into with this story. Is I think to start with, would we like to see the games on the platform? 100%.
Yeah.
100%. The best way to go about that, Richie, Kickstarter?
Well, the thing is, I don't think Kickstarter is necessarily a bad way, especially as an indie developer, to like fund your projects if you don't have like the ear of like a big publisher that might help you out. I, for one, would never put money down on a Kickstarter, full stop. When I drop money on something, I want a guarantee. Indiegogo, Kickstarter like that, you never have that guarantee. This may be a case of, I don't think it's going to happen in this case because he has launched games, he knows what he's doing, they know what they're doing. I don't know how big the studio is. But without seeing the tiers and stuff and going, and without that guarantee that it will even come, because to our best of our knowledge, Stadia haven't even kind of went, yeah, you can drop it on our platform. I would not drop money without that at least guarantee from Google going, if you can get the money together, it'll bring it over. I wouldn't drop a penny on it. Nothing to do with this game. It's just my kind of personal stance on any Kickstarter, even outside of games. It's why it's cool as Sky Climbers looks and how hype people are getting for that. I didn't drop a penny on that, because I want something tangible in return for when I spend money.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't like to spend money on a promise.
Yeah, it's an interesting approach because, like I said, it's happened very, very quick over just the course of a couple of days. I know some people give. One of the tweets he put out was saying, "Go buy this now to support the franchise as such." So he recommend. I keep saying he for some reason. I'm getting the cadence that it might be a guy for whatever reason. Go buy it on other platforms to support the game so we can fund the Stadia port, and that seems a bit dodgy.
I straight up don't like that. Like, to be honest, like, oh yeah, go buy this game on PlayStation so I can bring it to Stadia. It's like, well, if you now bring it to Stadia, I'm not buying it on Stadia because I only own it on PlayStation. So that feels a bit like, I don't think it's intended this way. It feels almost a bit like emotional manipulation, like, because then he's getting your money, but it's like, I'm not saying he wouldn't bring it, but I don't like that as a take. I'd prefer the Indiegogo Kickstarter kind of route to that.
Obviously,
like, because at least you're putting money down for this specific thing.
Yeah, obviously it's indie and it's no disrespect, but there's a kind of weird vibe I'm getting where I'm sensing like a bit of naivety in the terms of the way he's tweeting out, saying, "Oh, hopefully we can get this eventually across." I'm clearly getting carried away. Obviously, he's since started giving out codes on PS4. So again, the games are legit. You don't have to do this. He's trying to garner some goodwill. But yeah, there's something peculiar, I think, about the way it was almost as soon as they got wind there was a potential the platform and players who would buy the game, there was all of a sudden this massive surgence.
We know the Stadia community, whilst small, can be quite vocal at times. I think he may have got a bit carried away because at the moment, because we're Stadia community, kind of starved for games. Developer starts talking about a cool game potentially bring to Stadia, that gets jumped on from the Stadia community more so than you probably see in other platforms. And it's like, oh, cool game, oh, it could come to Stadia, jump on it, let's make this happen. It's what happened with Sky Climbers.
Yeah,
and I think they may have got a little carried away, like with that, and like I honestly don't think he'd probably see the returns that he's probably thinking he might.
Well, hopefully.
But if he gets it crowdfunded, then it doesn't really matter that much. But I don't know.
Yeah, just go check out the Twitter for like kind of a breakdown of it all. It's Dead Drop Studios. Outbreak.
I hope it comes. I hope it's successful on the platform. But I'm just skeptical about how he's approaching it. I think there's a bigger conversation to have about crowdfunding and gaming and stuff in the future anyway.
Yeah, and obviously we had the Stadia Makers program. I don't think that's coming back this year by the looks of it, as far as we're aware. And I guess these games, they all take time. They've got to start somewhere, but yeah, it's interesting. Like, you would think as soon as you get wind of bringing the game to the platform, you would just go direct to Stadia.dev, fill out your form, wait for their response, and kind of pick it up from there without going all crazy on the internet about asking people to buy it on other platforms.
I think the biggest way to go about this for me would be to create as much noise on social media without a solid commitment or asking people to invest. Because the more noise from the Stadia community about this game, the more Google are going to sit up and pay attention and potentially going, you know what, people want this game over. Get the credit card out. We'll fund this.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll be a while yet. As we know. But hopefully, maybe one day, Richie, will see a free trial on the platform, because they seem to be an ever-present thing. Reading from our good friend MM2K over on the pntsnetwork.com. Stadia has landed 3 more free trials with no subscription required, Richie. So this seems to be a trend. They're kind of going in and curating a list of free trial games. There's quite a lot now. If you're actually looking in the storefront, there's a whole section dedicated to free trials. We had Blaze and the Monster Machines Axle City Races, the popular children's spin-off monster truck racing game. Free trial for 60 minutes. We've also got Dragon Quest 11, Echoes of an Elusive Age from Square Enix. That's the RPG, which loads of people absolutely love.
We have a first look on the channel, and I have completed that game.
There we go. Richie really loves it. You've got a 120-minute free trial on that one. Would 120 minutes be enough to really sink your teeth in?
Not to sink your teeth in, but it might be enough to kind of go, okay, kind of get you. It should be enough to kind of get you, okay, the atmosphere, what the feel of the game's going to be like, and to kind of decide whether you like it or not. I think I'm glad it's 120 rather than 60.
Yeah, so
I think that's about right.
Whet your appetite a little
for a
bit.
free trial. Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, I did think that when I was reading through them. I'm like, okay, they're obviously particular time frames specifically chosen for the type of games they are.
Yeah.
And then the final one is the Little Nightmares Complete Edition. Of course, the little adventure horror platformer that there's an entire playthrough up on the channel for that one as well. I finished it in one sitting for Halloween 2 years ago now.
And then a year later, you did number 2.
I did, yeah. So I just need number 3 to come out to do that one. The free trial for Little Nightmares is 30 minutes. So collectively, you've got hours and hours of fun to be had. And that's not, again, including all the other games. Humankind is still up there. There's a bunch of other ones. So just...
you don't even need an account. You can just go.
Just without Pro. So it's great to see they're doing it. I think with Click to Play and the other titles, I think there's about 10 or 12 or something at the moment. Yeah. Plenty of stuff to play. Great to see. But yeah. More games, more stuff to play. I don't think I'll check any of these out, to be fair. They're not really up my street, but again, it's not aimed at me. It's aimed at people who've maybe not tested out the platform before. More free trials. Bring them all.
I'd recommend people, if you're into JRPGs, you got free trial of Dragon Quest 11, give it a go. It is like Metacritic is in like the high 80s, so it's like pretty top tier. If you're into it, but I think it's a very much is it for you sort of game.
That's why there's a free trial. Wonderful stuff. Just reading off one of the news articles we had last week, we brought you the story that Need for Speed is rumoured to be coming out later this year, hopefully for release. We've got EA titles on the platform. As it stands, just want to touch back in. Some more rumours have came out circulating now that it will be set in a fictional Chicago. And more importantly, they're going to go with some photorealistic art style combined with some anime elements, which I don't really know how to read into it, but I thought...
Taking the anime elements is there's a lot of like impressionism is a big part of anime where like things like characters not always going to be the same size from shot to shot depending like what the character needs. If you need a character to feel very imposing, you're going to like scale up the character compared to the surroundings. I think there's going to be a lot of like that sort of stuff where they kind of go a bit over the top with things for like that in kind of like impressionist kind of view. That's kind of my thought, because photorealism and anime don't feel like contradictory.
Right.
But there again, when you remember this is a game, there's actually... You're not filming an actual car here. So they can do stuff to kind of like... Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what that actually shapes out as.
Yeah, the thing with the Need for Speed games is they always kind of have a gimmick. Every one of them has to have like a style to it, rather than... Because you've got like Gran Turismo and stuff as your simulator game. You've got Forza... Motorsport and Forza Horizon kind of bounce back and forth between being the serious one and the wacky arcade one. And Need for Speed has always leaned more into that arcade, like drifting, nitrous oxide, LED lights, that the funnest side of racing, essentially. Crashes, damage, all that kind of stuff. Police chases.
Excessive amount of fire coming out the exhaust, that sort of stuff.
It's definitely more in the line of a Fast and the Furious movie rather than sitting down and watching the Formula One on the weekend. And... Yeah, I know Need for Speed Heat had a particular art palette to it, and no surprise here. But fictional version of Chicago, anime, photorealistic. I'm intrigued to see what it is. More importantly, I just do genuinely hope it comes to the platform. I'd love to see a Need for Speed game spin its wheels on Google Stadia, but I'm hoping we don't have to wait too much longer. Again, we are heading towards May now. EA's fiscal year. What are we going to see? Got to see something. I'm actually fingers crossed. We have to wait a mere few weeks until we hear about Jedi Fallen Order 2 as well, actually. So, and then inevitably we hear about FIFA at some point in the summer. FIFA 23.
I think FIFA 23 could be a make-break thing for the platform, to be honest, because we've had the last few.
Yeah.
Will the next one come? Because at the moment, that 5-deal thing from EA is up that we knew of.
Yeah, we need to know what that... We didn't get Grid Legends.
Yeah.
But obviously that was Codemasters, kind of. But yeah, we need to see what the future holds. Keep saying it, Richie, but give me a Kinect or something. Do you know what? I'd even take I would really take a Ubisoft forward at this point, just in the hope that everyone on Ubisoft trailer has like a bunch of logos, so we know there are AAA games coming. Because yeah, aside from Avatar, I honestly don't think there's anything else in the pipeline for the rest of this year. And if Avatar gets pushed back to next year, which I don't think it will, but they've not said much about Avatar since last summer, so
I mean, I think the best thing to do for people watching this is go back to episode 60 SideQuest, where we kind of break down the games coming out this year. That's like the top most expected games, and it wasn't good reading for Stadia.
No, it was not. But I hope they're for Need for Speed. But if the Need for Speed is not up your alley or up your driveway as such, good news: there is a free Elder Scrolls Online event. That's released now. It's available to play now. You don't need a Stadia Pro subscription to play it. And this is all the way through from now on to the 27th of April. So you've got about 9 days at the time the show goes live to jump in. I know they've just added loads of new content. Of course, Elder Scrolls, Richie, it doesn't stop. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
It builds and builds and builds. And if you've not had a chance to jump in, it runs really well on Stadia. From what I recall, when you and Tom checked it out, or just Tom?
Yeah, we did a live stream. I think it was only Tom on camera, but I was playing along with them.
Right. Oh yes, of course, that's right. And yeah, if you're an Elder Scrolls fan, you probably already play the game. But it's good to see that even after the ZeniMax Microsoft purchase, that they're continuing to support these games, which they did always say all along, but. Good to see it's getting it. Where are you on the Elder Scrolls front? I know you said before you don't have the time in your life to commit to it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I liked it. I was when I played a bit of it, because I played some off stream as well. I kind of quickly this is fun. I don't really have the time or the inclination to get invested in an MMO, so I kind of went, okay, I'm going to bounce before it gets too many hooks into me, Because it's been a while since the Elder Scrolls game, main series. So it's I could see if you're a big Elder Scrolls fan and you love that open world, just getting lost in the open world.
Yeah,
I could see how much you could fall in love with this game. I just went, oh no. It's no reflection on the game, but just a reflection on where I am as a gamer nowadays. I don't have the time. There's plenty of other games I want to play. This will just eat and consume my life.
Yeah. Okay, well, let it consume your lives out there, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a fan of the Elder Scrolls Online. Moving on, final few stories of the week. Saints Row, another one where, that in fact, that would be the next AAA game. I think we're in for quite actually a drought, full stop in the video game world. We've had Horizons, Elden Ring. They're all out now. Lego Skywalker, Tiny Tina. It's all actually out available to play. And I think between now and August 23rd, when the Saints Row reboot game was pushed back to, of course it was supposed to come out earlier this year, I don't think we're expecting anything big, really. There's nothing on the horizon except for this. I bring it up.
Forspoken's due in May, which is the PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, true.
Sniper Elite May, The Quarry June, then Saints Row is August.
I take that back.
Yeah.
But for us, maybe, I'm guessing Saints Row is the only one that we might likely see drop on the platform. Of course, we got 2 Saints Row games as Stadia Pro titles. We've got, I think, Darkside. Why am I saying Darkside is Genesis? We've got 2 Saints Row games, 3 Saints Row games. I can't remember now. They're all purple. They're all out there. They are out there in the wild. Saints Row is doing a showcase this week.
Yeah.
Been a while. We've not actually heard about them since the Game Awards, so they've had about
it's about
a third of a year.
I think it's about good time. I think it's about good time.
Well,
this is clearly strategic. February, March, very lot of game releases and stuff. Let's just let that go. Then we'll start talking about our game, because then it's kind of, we're the next big game up.
Yeah, I'd argue Saints Row is bigger than Sniper Elite 5 and The Quarry, with The Quarry being a new IP.
Yeah.
So,
And Forspoken is a PlayStation exclusive, so I don't think they'd be too worried about that. And it doesn't seem to have that much hype between Forspoken.
yeah, it's hit or miss depending on who you speak to. But there is a showcase. It's set for the 20th of April, so later on this week at the time of listening. It's going to be on YouTube and stuff. Just head over to the THQ YouTube pages to find that one out. They're going to be drilling down and focusing on character customization, weapon and vehicle options. They mentioned that the showcase is going to be hosted by actress Misha Burton, and Deep Silver are going to be there to promote a stream full of interviews and inside info. So I think, like you said, I think it's probably a good time for them to come out and get ahead, because I know they got a bit of shit early doors about saying it's too generic, it's not quite Saints Row, it's a bit more bland or maybe Fortnite inspired. And Saints Row went absolutely batshit crazy with the last few entries, and I think they may be trying to bring that down a little bit and make it more about just open world Grand Theft Auto kind of fun.
I feel like the gaming industry has moved on a bit from Saints Row as well. So I think it's like kind of reinventing the series. And again, I think waiting until like the first quarter games of this year have come and gone, we're at a point where now like the hype around things like Elden Ring are starting to tail off a bit. I'm not saying like the popularity is, but like there's less conversation around Horizon and Elden Ring and things like that at the moment. It's starting to tail. So now it's like, okay, we can come in. Where if they came out like this time last month with this, they just would have been lost in the conversation.
Swept us to a side. Definitely would have been. But yeah, I guess it's a more question mark still. We hate to keep saying it every week, ladies and gentlemen, but we just don't know. Deep Silver, Volition, other Saints Row games on Pro, so there's business conversations happening, but until we actually hear something concrete, it's all hearsay. I'd like to play Saints Row. I'm intrigued by it being a reboot. I've not really spent much time playing the Saints Row games because, as you said, Richie, they got kind of a bit carried away and ridiculous, and it was like, well, I'm not really seeing the benefit to me in that. As someone who likes story-based games predominantly, but anything that's got like a new coat of skin, they're going for a reboot. I always think the studios have like an intention to do something different, so that always has my intrigue. But hopefully this week's showcase will ramp it up a little bit, and maybe even just give us a lovely little S logo at the end of whatever trailer they tease. Moving on to the final story of the week, our beloved game Darkside Detective 2, A Fumble in the Dark, has received its final case report. So anyone who's played the game will know that it came with so many detective case files to sort out, and there was always that extra one missing that said coming soon. So start the year strong and dig back in with our detective duo of Detective McQueen and Officer Dooley. The bonus cases, one flew into the cuckoo's nest. Richie, will they crack the egg of this new exciting case as it goes live? It's available now to anyone who's got the game, and the reason I wanted to add this one in there is they actually also tweeted out, the developers, Spooky Doorway, asking what people would like to see next. So now the final case is out for Darkside Detective. Would you like to see a Season 3, so a third entry in the franchise, or would you like to see a new adventure IP? Throw it over to you. What do you reckon? What do you want to see?
I was torn. I actually voted for new IP, but I now, after reading some of the comments, I changed my mind. But Twitter won't let me. So Season 3 is like it was actually in League who changed my mind. Like every great adventure needs a trilogy. It's like yeah, you've got me. Like I voted the wrong way.
Oh yeah. So the final vote. There's 11 minutes left on this at the time of recording. It's got 334 votes. It's currently 68% of people would like a third entry in the franchise, and 32% would like a new adventure game IP. So obviously, Dooley and McQueen have given themselves enough to do that people clearly want to see more of them. They've made a good impression, as we say. I really enjoy the Darkside Detective games. I'll definitely get around to checking out that extra case file at some point. And it's nice to see that the way people are swinging at the moment is they want to see more. Yeah.
You've had good fun playing these with your wife, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Great time just to back on. Again, it's not too intense. You don't have to necessarily have your fingers on the triggers all the time. You can just chat through, read it, like we did on stream, figure it out, have a couple of laughs at the comedy, because they're such well written games. And I'd love to see more of that kind of comedy, and I think in Leeds right in saying, yeah, every great story needs a trilogy. It's just right, isn't it? 3 is the magic number. 3 is the magic number. But, Richie, that has been it for episode 134 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Before we do wrap up, have we got any quick fire questions in from our Discord? I know we said it was quite a quiet week, so we asked our adoring Discord community to reach out with any questions they've got. So we can kick through a few of them for a few minutes.
Yeah, we're just going to burn through these really quick. Come now, writes in from our Discord. All these come from our Discord. With xCloud bundled into Xbox Premium subscription and PS Now soon to be bundled into PlayStation's refreshed Premium bundle, do you think it's finally time for Google to finally bundle Stadia with one of Google's subscriptions? Is it time for a bundle bonanza?
Yeah, 100%.
I agree. YouTube. Lock it in with YouTube Premium. You get suddenly you get that entire audience flooding in.
YouTube, even like an annual subscription would be a nice thing to offer. Just it's interesting.
Give everyone who has YouTube Premium 1 month free, and then a discount or something for like a year of it. Yeah, a year of Pro.
But obviously, we've gave Pro its merits time and time again. But you need to change your business model up. Like it has to evolve and change and adapt.
And you're hitting a massive casual gamer audience there as well. You look at things like Animal Crossing and like. Some of the other titles I'm trying to think. Fall Guys, stuff like that, who took off massively under the pandemic. That got a lot of casual people into gaming. You could use that kind of momentum by linking people who have YouTube Premium.
Well, we've said with Amazon Luna, they've just give their Prime members access to a rotating library of 4 or 5 games every other month.
Yeah.
Do that with YouTube Premium customers. Like, you pay for YouTube Premium as a YouTube Premium member. He's access to 50 plus games with Pro part of your subscription, and that's millions of people you're going to get in the door who might have never otherwise even thought twice about it. So yes, does it need an update, overhaul? Yes.
I don't think it's that difficult. It's literally everyone who's a YouTube Premium member gets 1 month free. Here you go, and then you just go. If you've got YouTube Premium, you get 50% off Stadia Pro. That's it.
Something like that. Just shake it up.
Yeah.
Shake it up.
Next one, Simon, the most fabled alpaca from our Discord. Presumably, the easy porting tools are one of the reasons that some games are coming across without crossplay features. If easy porting allows for a flurry of AA or AAA games, but without crossplay or with a few wonky features and button mapping, do you see this as a detriment? I'm not sure the easy porting tools got anything to do with crossplay, to be perfectly honest.
I think it's game specific, but I think what Simon's getting at is saying that if you're using the simple porting tools to get the game across, you're not really doing the legwork to get crossplay up and running because you're just porting the code across with like minimal work involved. And I think tying crossplay into it probably requires a bit more fiddling around and connecting like servers to the right player base and linking.
It requires upkeep and infrastructure and a lot of things.
Whereas
I think it's more complicated than just dropping the game over.
Yeah, so would I like to see a flurry of AAA games without crossplay? Yeah, because I think the community is that starved for big AAA titles. I'd take it at the loss of crossplay, but we're in a fortunate position, Richie, that we can just do a weekly live stream. And from there, we can get people to jump in and blows. Everyone out there, unfortunately, isn't that lucky. So, dependent on the title, I think.
Come now also writes in, where's Stadia's QA team? I presume California.
I was going to say they don't exist, but so we've both got something to go off the back of that one.
Crabopple17, do you think white labelling is long-term positive or negative for Stadia, given that it seems so far, at least, that white label games won't necessarily come over?
Again, from two sides. You've got the positive: if it helps fund the platform, then it might be a necessary evil. In terms of the games not coming eventually, it's crap because it's just teasing you with stuff that you should in theory be getting, like the Arkham games, and yet we have to just watch AT&T customers play it for free.
Yeah, I think it comes down to how Google see it. If they're looking at the white label to help fund Stadia, I think it's a positive. But if they're looking at, white label's taking off in a big way, Stadia's lagging behind, they might just go, we'll go where the money is. So I think it's most likely to be negative personally, which is why I think they should be writing into deals that it has to come over.
Yeah. But then this is where they could actually just come out and talk to us and say, like, the white label stuff's going great, but we're still committed to consumer. And so far, they've not really done anything like that. We had the Business Insider article that ripped them apart. showcased all of their their secret behind the scenes plans with white label and stuff, and they've not really came out and corrected them or made another statement. Like the last thing we realistically had, Richie, was Phil Harrison's statement about SC&G closing in 2020. 2020? 2021? 2020?
2020.
But
no, 2021.
Yeah, but that's the last. Yeah. That's it. That's the last official real statement we've had from their team or their higher ups. Yeah. Now with the Q&A team.
Yeah. Who knows where. Coming out also writes in, ads in free-to-play games are necessarily evil, and this is on the back of Xbox exploring bringing in advertisements in free-to-play games. It depends on the implementation for me, because I think of when I think of ads in games, I think of something like FIFA, where you've got like the advertisement hoardings around the pitch. If that's integrated seamlessly, I don't necessarily have a problem with it.
No,
if it's something that kind of pops up in your face, blocking you, stopping you actually interacting with the game, I think it's bad.
Yeah,
it really depends. It depends on the integration.
Yeah, if it's like, say it was like a Grand Theft Auto and there was like billboards and posters featuring real world products, I wouldn't mind. If they were in a place I would see them out in the real world, like a bus stop or something, I don't think that would bother me. An advertising board at a football game, yeah, that would just make the game feel more immersive and realistic for me.
Yeah, if you like saying Grand Theft Auto, if you're driving around, you see a billboard as an advertisement for Coca-Cola or something, that wouldn't bother me. If you listen to the radio and occasionally, like the DJ goes, and here's an advert, it just feels like you're listening to radio in real life, so it kind of works seamlessly in the game, and I don't have a problem with that.
But if you're plastering it all over a load screen, that's like, okay, what the hell?
It should be integrated in the game. That makes sense for the game.
Natural fit.
And to wrap things up, Simon, once again, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I've messed that up.
You know what? Before the show,
I was so close. So close.
When I asked about questions and you said that one is in there, I was like, "Oh, I'm glad you're reading it out because a tongue twister while recording a podcast never a good one." Well done, Simon. You twisted his tongue well and good. I'm going to go with the answer 3.
I'm going to go with the answer of 63.
Okay, because every good tongue twister needs a trilogy, is why I've went with 3. Yeah. And of course,
I went 63 because that's episode of SideQuest next.
I see what you did there. Of course, yes, Richie, we are going away now to record our next episode of SideQuest, episode number 63. Our Helix Heroes, all 50 of you out there, do get early access to this, up to 6 days early for helping support the channel, subscribe, and just give us that extra little bit of love that makes us bring you better content. And we give you stuff early. You get badges next to your name, stickers, and all these other little perks as well. Richie, what are we talking about on this week's SideQuest show?
On this week's SideQuest, we are talking about the top-selling games of all time. And where does Stadia rank?
Oh, well, there's a few of them on Stadia, believe it or not, so we'll be going away and talking about all that. 6 days early access for those lovely Helix Heroes out there. You can click join below and join that golden crew listening to it nice and early. But if not, it does drop on free feeds. Remember, we don't gatekeep anything from you here on the Helix Cloud Games channel, so we do appreciate you all every single minute of the day. But Richie, that's been it for 134 of our weekly Stadia podcast. Every Monday drops on youtube.com and also up there on the podcast preference of your choice. We're going to go away and play some games. You should go and do that as well. Hope you all had a great Easter once again, folks, and we will see you on next week's show, or in fact we'll see you on this week's live stream, because we do that every week as well. Keep it tabs locked down with social channels to find out where that is. On Twitter at Helix Cloud Games, over on Facebook you can follow me at CyberChris2077, you can follow Richie at
RichieC89.
We'll see you on the next one. Remember everyone, play whatever makes you the happiest. My name's been Chris,
and I've been Richie.